Richard Haass and I both read this morning a piece in the Financial Times by Larry Summers. He said global trade agreements need a new role. He writes, if just a fraction of the U.S. political capital expended on the TPP had been devoted to supporting reform of the International Monetary Fund and adequate funding for international financial institutions like the UN, those objectives could have been attained with greater benefit. I really liked this, Ambassador, because it said something new on trade. It was a new argument, which I haven't heard in a while. Do you buy that?
Not completely. Yes, the United States should support a change to the voting mechanisms within the IMF and all that, but it's still wrong to underestimate the importance of trade. Strategically, this is big, big, big for the U.S. and Asia. Economically, this will make a real difference to the United States.
His other point was that, you know, the era of easy wins by dropping obvious tariffs is over, and we're now fighting the harder stuff, intellectual property, cultural things that are culturally important, like Japanese rice. Is it as clear that the gains from those dropping those barriers to entry are the same as getting rid of tariffs?
No, fair enough. And it is very much a new trade agenda. We already saw that, as you know, Brendan, a few years ago with people wanting to insert environment, labor. Now it is issues like cyber, intellectual property. It's going to get tougher and tougher. But the old agenda, the tariff, non-tariff barrier agenda, that's essentially been satisfied. You could still do a little more with services, a little bit more with agriculture. But Larry Summers is essentially right. The old trade agenda is more or less satisfied. The new trade agenda is more complicated.
For whatever reasons, we just saw Russia with a rate cut moments ago. You could see that, folks, out on Bloomberg HD. We had South Korea with a rate cut. We had, help me here, somebody else had a rate cut last week. New Zealand with a rate cut last week as well. That's the backdrop of Lagarde's new mediocre. And yet at the same time, I got Hillary Clinton holding up traffic in New York and her famous line, fair trade. Give us an update on globalization for Americans. I mean, that's what this is really about, is the effect of globalization.
Sure, but globalization isn't a choice, it's a reality. And what people are what they're doing is they're taking out their frustrations on inequality, on everything else, and they're taking it out on trade, not because trade agreements are the culprit. They're demonstrably not, but it's the one thing people can vote on. So we have this bizarre debate in the Democratic Party as though trade agreements are the problem, when the issue is technology.
Richard, the foundation idea here is trade agreements are for elites. That's the fact, the way people look at it.
And it's dead wrong. That may be what people are saying. It's dead wrong. Americans benefit from what it is we import, what it is we consume. Americans, you know, millions of high-paying jobs are linked to exports.
I would say that what has happened in America is that we have developed a distrust of averages. Is that when you look at the gains from trade, you look at an average number like GDP, which expresses what's going on for the entire country, and we're recognizing that that average may not reflect our own reality.
Yeah, but again, people have lost jobs in manufacturing, but the culprit is technology. It is global competition. It is not trade agreements. People are blaming China for the loss of jobs. As you know, China's not even in this trade agreement.
Quickly, was NAFTA a success?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not just in job creation, but look how well North America's doing. Does anyone for a second think North America would be doing nearly as well if it weren't for NAFTA?
Richard Haass, on trade. Very cool. Very, very cool.